Well, the Both Sides of the Law project started back in 2004, really, when a group of off-duty Milwaukee police officers beat a man named Frank Jew Jr. And ultimately, 7 officers were convicted in federal court criminally in that beating. And during our investigation of that incident, we realized that one of those officers had a prior conviction for fleeing and eluding police in a different jurisdiction. And that led us to wonder, how often does this happen? And how many other guys like that are there on our police department today? I realized that there is a police department rule against breaking the law or violating a city ordinance. And so there's a personnel record for each police officer that lists whether or not they have violated that rule. Unfortunately, those are only available on paper. And it was about an 18-month battle to get all of that paper. Once we got all the information, we found that at least 93 members of the Milwaukee Police Department, sworn officers or command staff, had been disciplined for violating laws and ordinances. But it was a lot more than that. Only, I believe, 8 had been criminally convicted, and a lot of the others got breaks from everyone in the system. The most common infraction for police officers was drunken driving, and there were more than a couple of dozen police officers who had been convicted of drunken driving and were still able to drive squad cars and do traffic stops on other drunken drivers. One of them was doing a sentence of work release for a drunken driving conviction and was working at the police department during the day while he was on work release from jail. The second most common violation we found was domestic violence incidents. The officers who are disciplined for domestic violence are still allowed to investigate domestic violence cases. I think one of the things that made this project really unique and special was in about the last 3 to 6 months of the project, we got a whole team together and put together a fantastic online presentation. We have a searchable graphic where you can see all of the 93 officers color-coded by what they did, who the police chief was, and we also put all our documents up online for that. We had an interactive graphic that showed the complaint process and how it works or doesn't work. We had video, and it's really striking, and a lot of attorneys tell me that they use it every day. This story had tremendous impact even before it was published. The police chief put together a new program to help officers dealing with alcohol issues. The governor vetoed a bill that would have allowed officers to continue to be paid while their disciplinary appeals were pending. And an officer who raped a woman after he responded to her 911 call was convicted in federal court and is facing life in prison. I've received more reaction to this project than I have to any other project in my entire career to this point. I had a lot of readers talk about interactions that they had had with either these same police officers or other police officers. I had people from all over the country talking about what an underrated problem officer-involved domestic violence is, and my series is being used in Colorado to help come up with some protocols for how to deal with that issue. This story has created greater public awareness of the problem of police officers engaging in illegal behavior, and it's also led to some much-needed reforms both within the police department and in state law.